Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the Samsung refrigerator temperature sensor. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new temperature sensor. The temperature sensor is used in both the fresh food and the freezer section. It's part of the defrost system. The main reason you'll be changing it out is if it's failed and the evaporator is icing up, causing that section to be warm. Since this part is used in both the fresh food and the freezer section, we're going to show you how to change it in both sides. If you're changing out the fresh food section, we have to open up both refrigerator doors. Now that we have both doors open, we're going to take out these two drawers and the upper shelves. To get the drawers out, you just have to pull out till they stop, then lift up on the front a little bit and pull them out the rest of the way. Once you have them out, you can set them aside. Now that we have the drawers out, we're going to take out the center divider. There's a little locking tab on each side that we have to press in, and you can pull the divider out. Once you have it off, you can pull it out and set it aside. To get the shelf out, we're just going to lift up on the front a little bit, and you can pull it forward. Once you have it free, you can pull it out and set it aside. The three upper shelves all come out the same way. We're just going to lift up on the front, and then lift up a little bit, and then pull them out. Once you have them out, you can set them aside. The small shelf, you just have to lift it out of the way. Now that we have all the shelves out, we have to remove the back panel. There's 4 screws that hold it on. There's one located behind this cover right here that we have to take off. So we're going to use a small flathead screwdriver to carefully get in here and release the tab. Once you have it free, you can pull the cover off, set it aside. Now we can use the Phillips screwdriver and remove the 4 screws. Now that we have those screws off, we can take the back panel off. As you're pulling it off, you want to be careful. There's 2 wiring harnesses up here that we have to disconnect once we get some room. And we can reach back in there and unplug them. Once you have the panel free, we can reach up and disconnect the wire harnesses. To disconnect the wiring harnesses, each one has a locking tab. All you have to do is press the locking tab so you can pull the wire harness off. Once you have them both free, you can pull the assembly out of the refrigerator. Now that we have the back panel off, we can take out the temperature sensor. It's mounted right here in this little bracket. So we're just going to turn this bracket carefully. You're going to be careful of these copper lines. Once you have the bracket turned, we can take a small flathead screwdriver and just pop it out. Then we're going to follow it around to this little clip right here that holds the wire. You may have to use a small flathead screwdriver to break it free. Then we can follow it up and grab the wire cutters so we can cut the zip tie. We can take the wire cutters and cut it. Then we're going to follow the wire up, and we have to remove this cover. All you have to do is press on it and then pull it off and then set it aside. And they have this wiring harness block kind of all linked together. So there's 3 locking tabs over here on the left hand side that we have to press in order to get the wire harness to come out. Once you have it free, we're just going to bring it over. You can see that they have this red and white kind of locking tab that holds it together. So we're going to have to remove those so we can get the temperature sensor wiring harness out of there. So we're just going to take a small flathead screwdriver and release these tabs. Once you have it released, we can work the wire harness out. We're just going to pull the wires out from in between the two. And then we can pull the temperature sensor out of the refrigerator. Here's the old temperature sensor next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. To put the new temperature sensor in, we're just going to grab the wiring harness block, and you want to line up the new plug just like the old one was in there. We're going to make sure the wire goes in between the red and the white locking tabs. We can pull it back into place and snap it in. We want to make sure all of them snap in on both sides. Once you have the block put together, we can rotate it up and plug it back in. Once you have it plugged in, we're going to route the wire. Just going to put it into its little clamp right here and snap that closed. You can rotate it up. We're going to go behind this copper line here and snap it into its holder. Once you have it snapped in, you can rotate that back over so it was in the same position. Then we can adjust the line if we need to so we have the proper length when we come in and put the new zip tie on. Just going to wrap the zip tie around and tighten it down. Once you have the zip tie tightened down, we can grab the wire cutters and cut off any extra. Then we can put the cover back on. Just want to make sure it goes over the wires. Once you have it snapped in, we can put everything back together. To put the back panel on, we're just going to lift it up into place. And then we have to reach behind it and reconnect the wire harnesses. We have the one that goes to the temperature sensor, that goes on the top. And the one that goes to the fan goes on the bottom. Once you have them both hooked up, you can lift the back panel up into place. Once you have the back panel in place, we can use a Phillips screwdriver to put the screws back in. Once you have these 3 screws in, we can put in the upper one. Now that we have the screws in, we can snap the cover on. All you have to do is line it up, push it into place. Once you have it in, we can put all the shelving back in. To put these upper shelves back in, they all go in the same way. We're just going to set the top hooks on first and lower it down. Once you have the upper one on, we can lower this little side shelf. Now we can put the crisper cover in. To put it in, we're just going to set it down onto the rails, and then we're going to hold the front up a little bit, then push it back so the shelf goes underneath the rails. We can set the front down. To put the support in, all you have to do is line it up and push it in. You want to make sure it snaps in. Once you have it in place, we can put the drawers in. When you put the drawers in, you want to make sure the wider one goes on the left. And all you have to do is put them in the same way you took them out. Lift up on the front a little bit. Push them in, drop the front down. Push it the rest of the way in. Now that we've shown you how to do it in the refrigerator, we'll show you how to do it in the freezer. To get to the part, all you have to do is open up the freezer door. Once you have the door open, we have to take the drawer out. So we're just going to pull it out a little bit, and you want to make sure that the rails on each side are pushed all the way up like this. And then we can lift up on the drawer and pull it out. Now that we have the drawer out, we're going to take the basket out. In order to make it easier to get that out, we're going to open up the refrigerator doors for a second. And then we can lift the basket out. You want to lift the back up first and then slide it towards the back a little bit. Once you have it free, you can lift it out and set it aside. Once we have the basket out, we're going to close the refrigerator doors again. And then we can take the door off the freezer. We can see this bracket that has 2 bolts that hold the door onto the rails. We're going to use a 10mm socket with a ratchet to take them out. Now that we have these out, we can go do the ones on the other side. Now we can lift the door off the brackets. If it's stuck, you can use your hand to press down on the rail while you break it free. And then we can carefully lift the door up, pull it off. Once you have it off, you can set it aside. Now that we have the door out of the way, we have to take this connecting rod off. So we're just going to push it all the way over to the right and flex a little bit so it comes out of the left wheel. Once you have it out of that, we can pull it out of the right one and pull it off and set it aside. Once you have the connecting rod out, we can push the rails in. Then we can take out the ice maker. To get it out, the first thing we're going to do is remove this cover. It's just snapped on, so just squeeze it a little bit and pop it off. Once you have the cover off, we're going to use a Phillips screwdriver to take out these 2 screws that hold it up. Once you have the screws out, we're going to reach in and pull forward on the ice maker so it releases from the tabs. So we can drop it down and carefully reach in and disconnect the wire harness. There's a locking tab on it. Just have to press it to release it. Once you have it released, you can pull the ice maker out of the freezer. Now that we have the ice maker out, we're going to take the back panel off, tailed in by 2 screws. We're going to use a Phillips screwdriver to take them out. Once you have both screws out, you can reach in and carefully pull the back panel off. To get the back panel off, we're just going to carefully pull out on it. Once you have it worked out, you can drop it down a little bit. Once you have the back panel lowered down, you can see that there's 3 electrical connections up here on the right-hand side that we have to disconnect. There's locking tabs on them, so we're just going to reach up and unlock them and unplug them. Once you have all 3 of the wire harnesses disconnected, we can pull the back panel out of the freezer. Now that we have the back panel off, we're going to take this metal cover off. All you have to do is squeeze it to release the locking tabs on each side. You can pull it off and set it aside. Then we're going to use the small flathead screwdriver to release this little clip right here that holds the wires. Once you have it open, you can take the temperature sensor wire out. Then we're going to use the wire cutter to cut these zip ties off. We're going to do this one first. Then we can do the one on the other end by the temperature sensor. Once you have it off, we can take this holder that holds the temperature sensor. We're going to slide it to the right. We can unclip it from the line and turn it over and just pull the temperature sensor out of it. Once you have the sensor out, you set it aside. We're going to follow the temperature sensor wire back up to this block. There's actually 3 different plugs in here, but they're held in by little locking clips. So there's 3 release tabs that we have to press on this side to get the plug out. Once you have the plug out, you can turn it over. And you can see the temperature sensor wire is the one on the bottom. So we're going to take a small flathead screwdriver and release these locking tabs. Once Once you have it free, you can work the wires in between the clips. Then once you have it free, you can pull it out of the freezer. To put the new temperature sensor in, we're just going to line it up so the locking tab is the same as the other two. And we can put the wires in between the two locking brackets and slide it into place. Once you have it snapped into place, we can plug it back in. We can run it over and clip it back into the clip. All you have to do is put the wire in and then snap it closed. Then we can grab the temperature sensor holder and snap the sensor bulb in. Once you have it in place, we're going to turn it around and snap it onto the line. Once you have it snapped onto the line, we're just going to slide it over into place. Then we can put a new zip tie on. Once you have the zip tie tightened down, we can cut the excess off with the wire cutters. Now we can put the zip tie on the other end. If you have to, you can pull any excess wire down so it comes down and meets up with the rest of these. We can wrap the zip tie around it, tighten it down. Then we can cut the excess off with the wire cutters. Then we can put the metal cover back on. All you have to do is line it up and compress it a little bit so the locking tabs go in. Once you have it on, we can put the back panel on. To put the assembly in, we're just gonna kind of lift it up into place. And then we're gonna have to reach behind and grab the 3 wire harnesses and plug them in. They're all different, so you can't mix them up. Just push them on and make sure you get them in there so you get a good connection. Once you have all 3 connected, lift the assembly back up. Push it into place. Now if you have to, you can pull this right slide out so this wheel gets out of the way. Once you have the wheel out of the way, you can get the panel up the rest of the way. And then we can use the Phillips screwdriver to put in the screws. Now that we have it back in place, we can put the ice maker back in. To put the ice maker assembly back into the freezer, just gonna line it up so we can plug the wiring harness in. It can only go on one way. Make sure it snaps on so you get a good connection. Once you have it in place, we're gonna lift it up so the fill tube goes up through the opening. And push it back and lock it onto the mounting legs in the back. Lock it into place. Once you have it in place, we can use the Phillips screwdriver to put in the screws on the front. Once you have both screws in, we can put the cover back on. Just have to line it up and snap it back into place. Now that we have the ice maker in, we're going to pull the rails out. And then we can put in the bar that goes between the 2 wheels. Just have to line it up on the right one and push it in. And do the same on the left. If you have to flex a little bit, you can. Once you have the bar back on, we can put the door on. To put the door back on, you just have to line it up on each rail and set it into place. Once you have the door in place, we can use the ratchet with the 10mm socket to put the bolts back in. Now we can do the ones on the other side. Once you have the door back on, we can put the basket in. To put the basket back in, we're going to open up the refrigerator doors to give us a little bit more room. And we're going to take the basket and lower the front down in first. Then you want to swing it and lay it down. You want to make sure that the front locking tabs go in, and then you can set the rear ones down. Now that you have the basket in, we can close the doors, and then we can put the drawer in. To put the drawer back in, you want to make sure that the slides are in the same position they were when you took them off. And then we can carefully set the drawer in. You want to make sure that the slides go onto the glides. And you can push it all the way back in. Once you have it in, you can close the freezer door, plug it back in, and make sure it starts to cool. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.